Hello, everyone, and well, it's been a long time since I've really talked anything wrestling wise, and that's mainly because over the last week since I've returned home, I did one review on Monday Night Raw from like way back. Well, not way back, but like a couple weeks ago, a couple Raws ago. And the reason for that being was that I was sick for about a week, or at least sick to the point that I felt like it was best for me to not attempt to do any videos, anything in that sense. But during that time frame, a few things have happened within the landscape of of wrestling side, not just in the terms of WWE. Mainly, the only things storyline wise that have been going on WWE side have been on Raw and Smackdown, where NXT had been pretty much stagnant for the last couple weeks in the terms of showing a couple of their house shows on their most recent tour of Japan and Australia. During that time frame, they had one day in Japan, which they recorded that, and then they also had the Melbourne, Australia one, where they had done the most recent Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe matches, and then you got to see those matches in full. So they were definitely a little bit different from the ones that appeared on NXT TV a while back in that sense. So nothing really new happened inside of NXT. That's going to start back up this week with their Wednesday show. During Raw and SmackDown, you're getting the build towards the Royal Rumble. For the most part, you're also getting more matches, obviously, getting put together. Not only do you start getting entrance into the Royal Rumble, which now has Baron Corbin, Goldberg, Lesnar, Jericho, The New Day are in there, and I think Seth Rollins just put out a tweet saying that he's going to be in the Rumble match as well. So you're getting people starting to fill up inside of the Royal Rumble, and we'll see how they decide to do more things. The one thing I've always missed about old builds to the Royal Rumble were Royal Rumble qualifying matches. They never do those anymore. They never do them anymore. I always found them fun. It gave a meaning to a meaningless match or something in that sense down the road. You're also at least Raw wise getting a little bit stagnant in the terms of certain matches. You're getting a lot of combinations of Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, and Roman Reigns in some way, shape, or form throughout the entire week. As a matter of fact, you've had a one-on-one match with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns before the Rumble pay-per-view for the U.S. title. And then last week you got a Jericho and Roman Reigns match as well. And this week you're going to get a handicap match with Roman Reigns and going up against Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens. And guess what? The U.S. title's on the line again. Lo and behold, and everything in that sense. What else is being built? They're building up Braun Strowman, which he's also inside the Rumble match as well. They've been building him up strong. Had a great last man standing match with Sami Zayn on last week's Raw. Fair enough. That was a pretty damn good match. Not the best match that you probably saw over that week, but pretty damn good match for Monday Night Raw. They're also building Bayley going into a match with Charlotte going at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. They had it where initially Bayley was going up against Charlotte in a one-on-one match where if she would win, she would get the number one contendership, but Dana Brooke was the special ref. So this led to what was probably the best promo Bayley's done since she's been up on the main roster, at least in my own personal opinion. The promo that she had with Stephanie McMahon in the backstage area, I thought was probably one of her better promos since coming up. It's giving the character purpose. It's giving the character a point to prove now, and it's beginning to become more of the Bayley you saw towards the end of the line at NXT, so instead of probably her beginning run as Bayley to begin with. So that's shaping up to be pretty good. She went up against Nia Jackson. Sasha Banks interfered by just coming out, and Bayley won that match. So now you have Bayley going up against Charlotte at the Royal Rumble. They're probably building up towards Sasha and Nia Jax or something in that sense. But overall, last week's Raw wasn't too bad in every sense of the word. It wasn't too bad. It dragged in a few other areas. You had a really good promo with New Day and Titus O'Neil. I thought they did a really good job. I thought Titus O'Neil came off really good inside of that promo, and it will be interesting to see if they continue to do more things like this with Titus O'Neil. Maybe start letting him win or something in that sense down the road as well. See how they're gonna actually see if they're gonna do anything with him, or if he's just gonna essentially remain kind of a joke-esque character down the line here. On SmackDown side, again, they're building up towards the Royal Rumble, just like Raw would be doing the exact same thing. You're building that up there, putting people inside of the Royal Rumble, like Baron Corbin's inside there. He's the only one technically announced for the Rumble on SmackDown side, but you would... Obviously, they'll put more in there. They're just waiting to build the stories and everything in that sense. You're getting... and they also set up the WWE title match with AJ Styles going up against John Cena, where a lot of people were thinking it was going to be The Undertaker, which, by the way, Undertaker and Shawn Michaels appear on Raw this week, which is going to be a weird one to go along with it. Because you would expect Undertaker to just show up on SmackDown like he did the week before Survivor Series, but I guess not. He shows up on Raw to go along with it. But they had a really good promo for their contract signing between the two of them. There was also the week before, there was also a really good triple threat match with Baron Corbin, AJ Styles, and Dolph Ziggler. They put on a really good match to go along with everything. You also have a new Intercontinental Champion, which was from last week's, where you have where you have Dean Ambrose now as the new Intercontinental Champion after defeating The Miz, which isn't too bad. I mean, it could be interesting to see how they decide to go with everything with Dean Ambrose here in the near future, whether he's just going to be kind of in the mid-card side or holding on to the Intercontinental title, or how much longer he's going to be continuing on with this feud with The Miz, and does The Miz get back that Intercontinental title before this feud's over with, or does Dean Ambrose hold on to it for quite a bit of time? Who knows where they're going to go with that on that side of everything. Obviously, they're also continuing this aspect of Miz mocking Daniel Bryan in every way, shape, or form. I would not be shocked if he does something at the Royal Rumble to mock Daniel Bryan even more throughout that entire time to try to garner more heel heat, and we'll see how that one ends up playing out. They finally reveal Nikki Bella's attacker being Natalya, and now they're having a match. Not much to really say there on that side of everything. The promos have been okay. But nothing much to really say about that. And they also are doing another James Ellsworth type thing. Or I won't say another James Ellsworth type thing, but they're doing this aspect of La Luchadora, where the first time it showed up, La Luchadora showed up, she went up against Alexa Bliss, beat her with the disarmer, and then reveals herself to be Becky Lynch. And then La Luchadora also interferes in the match with Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss in Alexa Bliss's behalf. And now you're going on an aspect of who is La Luchadora, and they even had a match with her and Becky. They switch, and then they switch mid-match, and Becky unmasked her to be Alexa Bliss, but it reveals to be two La Luchadoras at that point in time. And so you're still waiting to see who that's going to be. Some people are rumoring that it could be Mickie James in the end, but though she is not the one playing the character right now, that it might end up being her in the end, or it could just be somebody else in some way, shape, or form, in some other way down the road. And we'll see how they end up playing off of everything to go along with it. They even teased it where it's Alexa Bliss knows the identity, but she keeps giving out false information, like it being Sasha Banks or Nia Jax or something like that. So nothing really too crazy to talk about, too insanely good to talk about WWE side. SmackDown was a relatively entertaining show. They're building towards the Royal Rumble, and we'll see how everything plays off. They've got a couple more shows before the Rumble itself, so we'll see how everything plays off in those builds. TNA side, they had a New Year's with the Hardys, and they did have one other show, one other impact afterwards, That was also, I think, the first one that it was officially run by Anthem. As you guys know, or as some people probably know now, TNA was bought out by Anthem a while back, about 2 or 3 months ago, and I think they're finally these are like their first shows officially running the TNA Impact Wrestling as part of Anthem Sports. So I think they purchased them, or they were the benefactor or the person who supported or financed Bound for Glory in the end, because there was a lot of up in the air of whether or not Bound for Glory was even going to air in any way, shape, or form. And I believe they were the ones that did it. They ended up buying out Dixie Carter, where I think she only has like 5% of ownership to the company. She stepped down as like main chairperson and everything in that sense, so she has essentially no say in the company right now. So we'll see how TNA ends out running and everything. I'm going to get back to normal reviews of that this week in some way, shape, or form. I have not watched any of the Impact shows since I've been back here in Arizona after my trip home from Ohio. But lo and behold, I'm going to go off and say this right here. I have not watched the full show, but I've heard the clamorings of everything, and maybe this is something I need to look into a little bit more every year, and something to go out of my way to watch. Just like I go out of my way to watch WrestleMania, I try to watch WrestleMania live every year. Maybe it's time for me to also add one other show into that, because I've only watched one match of it. And if that one match isn't any indication of what was to be of the whole show, Wrestle Kingdom is going to be always a damn good show. I've heard the buzz about it and everything, and how everything ended up being really really good. All the matches were really good. And then you hear the infamous main event, which was Okada v Omega for the IWGP heavyweight title. And I sat back and I went out of my way after, the event happened, and you're hearing so much buzz about it. And, I went out of my way to go ahead and watch it. It's a 45-minute match. It's going to be about 54 some odd minutes after introductions and entrances to go along with it. But that match, oh my god. This is probably the best example in a modern time that I've seen of professional wrestling, in the terms of people taking it almost as if it was sport, and the sports entertainment side of everything to go along with it. This it was just, it's hard to really describe in actual words. You just gotta say it was a great match, and it's up there as a candidate for match of the year, and it was like 4 days into the new year already, and you're already potentially having the match of the year with Okada and Omega. And just the payoff that they did with the table spot, the teasing of the table itself to begin with, as well, like both of them teasing putting the other through it, and then like Omega actually doing a double foot stomp on the actual table itself on the outside of the ring. But then later that they have the table set back up, and Okada launches him with the highest back body drop I've seen in out of the ring through the table itself. And like I said, but just like the way that they perform strikes, perform the moves and everything in that sense, it felt like, yes, it was a performance, but it felt like it was sport to go along with it. It was a sport to go along with the performance, because it felt like the moves that they were using, the way that they were throwing them out there, you felt like each and every single one of them connected in some way, shape, or form, like the knee strikes or the clotheslines or anything in that sense. So it felt like this mix, like the right mix of sports side with pro wrestling, but also with the performance side with sports entertainment, because obviously we all know that it's based around storyline to go along with it. but they mixed in both, and you could suspend your disbelief about professional wrestling for about a 45-minute time frame, and the match itself just it's potentially match of the year, and it was like 4 days into the new year, right then and there. It was an absolutely phenomenal match, and it was great to watch. And I'm glad I'm glad I personally went out of my way to eventually be able to see it, even though I didn't get to watch it live. And yeah, if you have not watched the match, watch the match. It's really, really good, and they give like so many different indications of different feelings inside of the match itself. Like like I didn't know the storylines going into the match in any way, shape, or form. The only things I knew is that Kenny Omega was the leader of Bullet Club, and he was also good buddies with the Young Bucks, who were at ringside. But also with Okada, I don't really know much of the story between the two of them, outside of the aspect that Okada's the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and he's the leader, I think, of their Chaos faction to go along with it. And they enthralled me into the match. You can tell they were telling a story throughout the entire match itself. And that story of the match superseded the aspect, or maybe it just intensified the aspect of what the story was going into that match to begin with. And the story that they told, it seemed to flow with whatever they had. And you could tell that it was just a phenomenal performance out there, and in every way, shape, or form. So, and there's one other aspect that I saw about this match that I really liked, and you don't see it that often outside of like when they're like making a heel dominant in some way, shape, or form. But I've seen it in the Japan matches in many other ways. A lot of these wrestlers are in factions in some way, shape, or form, and some of their guys are out there at the ring as just support, like literally only support. They're only supporting their guys, and like when the other guys around, they don't even get anywhere near anything. Like the Young Bucks were out there just cheering on Kenny Omega. And they had a couple other guys, I don't know their names off the top of my head, on Okada's side as well, and they were just there in support of Okada. Nobody interfered. Nobody did anything. Like, if you have people who are out there in the terms of support, like you see most of the times in the U.S., they're interfering in the match left and right. They're doing this and that. They're not out there as just full-on support, like unless they're trying to build a heel with a manager, and the manager doesn't always get involved, but sometimes they do. And sometimes you do see that in Japan as well, where these group factions will interfere in the match or something in that sense. But you do not see that often, and I've seen that in plenty of other matches I've seen from Japan in the past, where you have these guys with their factions out there, but they're not fighting each other. They're just there supporting their guy and wanting him to win that particular match, but also win it clean or something in that sense. So it's another side that like takes it away and makes you take your disbelief away for a little bit and believe that it's semi-sport to go along with it. And like I said, this was a great match, probably match of the year. And yeah, 4 days into the year, you get match of the year in professional wrestling in some way, shape, or form. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes along. But from what I've heard with the rest of the show for Wrestle Kingdom, it was a great show. It's probably something to go out of your way to try to be able to watch. Maybe I should try to go out of my way and watch it next year in the terms of a live variation of it. And we'll see how everything goes on that side. But yeah, that is pretty much what happened in wrestling side, at least in the terms of the actual shows. Afterwards, there was even more news with that. With the Wrestle Kingdom side, that Kenny Omega was going to step away from Japan for a period of time, and now they're teasing that he might be signing with WWE, but even though he's done like the Sports Illustrated column saying he doesn't really want to be a cog in the WWE. He wants to kind of do his own thing, and he feels like New Japan is probably the best. So it makes me feel like this whole aspect of what he's saying, he comes out there and says, I've got to reassess everything. I want to lay out all my options and everything like that. And even John Cena Instagrams like a picture of him in some way, shape, or form to go along with it just a couple days ago. And it makes people feel like he's gonna go over the WWE or like something in that sense. I feel like it's a big teasing. He's gonna be back in New Japan at some point. He's probably just resting and healing after a match like that and some of the other matches he had last year to go along with it. So, with that being said, guys, that is pretty much everything that happened. Pretty much everything that happened in professional wrestling over the last couple of weeks while I have not been doing reviews or doing videos or everything in that sense. I'm getting to get back into that here in the very near future. We're going to probably have a Raw review coming up here very soon this week, and Smackdown and NXT and TNA Impact. All those things I'm looking to bring back in this next week. We'll see how I end up feeling. I'm still in a semi-recovery mode, but not in a full-on sick mode like I was the week before. So, with that being said, I thank you guys for watching. It's good to come back and do some of these videos down the line here, and I will see you throughout the week, and have a great week ahead.